Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We are so glad you've joined us today for this important conversation hosted by Communities and Schools of Washington. My name is Dr. Gwyneth Nelson, and I am the State Executive Director at Communities and Schools of Washington. And I want to thank you so very much for making the time to be here this afternoon. Today's panel is focused on a challenge that has only grown in urgency: chronic absenteeism. Across our state and across the nation, too many students are missing weeks of school each year, and the impact is so profound. When students are not present in school, they miss critical learning opportunities, connection with peers, and the caring relationship that help them thrive. We use these words quite a bit: chronic absenteeism. But what does it really mean? I want to make sure you all understand what this means. The formal definition of chronic absenteeism is defined as missing school days for a sizable portion of the academic year, typically 10% or more of enrolled days, which is around 18 days in a 180-day school year. This can lead to academic difficulties and a higher risk of dropping out. At Communities and Schools, we know that chronic absenteeism is rarely about a student not wanting to learn. It's most often about barriers such as transportation, housing insecurity, food access, healthcare, language support, or simply having a safe and supportive adult who believes in them. That is why our work is centered around the integrated student support model, which places site coordinators in schools to walk alongside students and families, connect them with resources, and ensure that they can fully engage in learning. The data is very, very clear. When schools partner with Communities and Schools, or CIS, absenteeism decreases and student outcomes very much improve. But even more powerful than the numbers are the stories of students who, with the right support, show up, stay engaged, and overall succeed. That is the focus of today's conversation. We're fortunate to have a panel of thoughtful leaders and practitioners with us to share their perspectives on how integrated student supports makes a measurable difference in reducing chronic absenteeism. Our discussion will last about 40 minutes, and then we'll open it up for your questions. Please feel free to use the Q&A feature as you listen, and we'll do our best to bring your questions into the conversation. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator, Erica Limón-Trefielo, our Associate Director at CISWA, who will guide us through today's discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwyneth, for the introduction. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm very excited to see both friendly faces and new. As Gwyneth has stated, my name is Erica Limón-Trefielo. I use she, her, ella pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director here at Communities and Schools Washington, where I oversee our statewide and federal policy and advocacy, our program and impact work, and our expansion and regional efficiency efforts. I'm excited to be here with you all today and introduce our panelists, who will be the star of our show. And first up, we have John Farley, who is the Superintendent for Republic School District. John has 26 years of experience in education, including 16 years as an administrator in both Montana and Washington State. For the past 4 years, he has served as the superintendent of the Republic School District in Washington, leading efforts to support students, strengthen school culture, and expand Communities and Schools involvement in a rural and very high-need K-12 district setting. So welcome, John. Excited to have you. Next up, we have Chris Gardea, who is the Assistant Superintendent of Walla Public Schools. Chris has over 25 years of experience in education and brings a deep understanding of what it takes to build strong schools and supportive learning communities. Chris began his career in the classroom as an elementary educator before moving into secondary math instruction and later serving as an assistant principal, a principal, and a district administrator. So welcome, Chris. We're very excited to have you. And last but certainly not least, we have Tim Winter, Superintendent for the South Kitsap School District in Port Orchard. Tim is currently in its 12th year as superintendent and 7th leading the South Kitsap School District. Across his 35-year career, he has taught at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. He's coached high school basketball and has served 9 years as a high school administrator. So welcome to our panelists. I'm so excited that the audience will get to learn a little bit about all of you guys. You all do incredible and instrumental work in your communities. And so I'm excited that everybody will get to learn a little bit about you, your communities, and how our work alongside CIS comes into play. So I just want to go ahead and start. And John, I will ask you this question first. If you can just tell us a little bit about what is your partnership with CIS looks like in your community and what brought that partnership to be.
Well, absolutely. Hey, welcome everybody. Glad you're here. Community and Schools has been an amazing addition to our school district. So to understand how we operate with Community and Schools is basically we need to understand what Republic is and where Republic is. And so we are a small, isolated community, great, hardworking community, amazing people. But we have a past that surrounds us, in every direction. So, when the snow flies, we're alone. It's hard to get out. It's an hour to any direction. It's an hour to a Walmart, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of resources that we just don't have access to naturally, or they aren't close by. So, we talk about childcare deserts. Republic is also a mental health desert. It is a social worker desert. I mean, it is tough to get folks out here, especially when the snow flies. So great, hardworking community. CIS was a definite need for us, Community and Schools. It's just we're lacking those resources. And how can we come alongside and partner with a community that understands our needs, understands that'll work within our system, come alongside and see our teachers in action and just be a part of that. So basically we had a need and we needed to fill it. And so Community and Schools came alongside and gave us this great opportunity and, funding models and things we can look at later throughout the presentation. But, getting our kids, and it's high needs. Ferry County, Washington is a high needs population as well, economically impacted. And, when the mine closed down and logging shut down, it left a lot of students that couldn't find work elsewhere with their families. And so Republic felt isolated for many years. And so, the work of our administrators is very limited, half-time counselor, like I said, no mental health services, very limited childcare, for our families that are hardworking, dual working families, that kind of thing. So having a group come in, sit and look at our needs, look at absenteeism in particular, and then start to say, hey, how can we see those academics rise? How can we, work with our teachers? How can we, it doesn't feel like something else you have to do, but it just becomes a part of your system. And even with the inflow of staff in and out, we've lost a couple folks that you moved on to bigger and better things. We were still able to continue Community and Schools and keep it rolling. So whether it's working alongside our crisis support team, our MTSS model, multi-tiered systems of support, response to intervention strategies, IEP teams for our special education students. We partner with them straight across the board. So the surface level things we'll talk about today, and there's also that in-depth look at what's actually the barrier that causes kids to miss school and how can they help our staff and our teachers get to that we simply haven't been able to work with. So again, attendance is important, and those barriers, and food is a big one for us here as well. So for the last 5 years, we've seen CIS really become a partner. And if I took that away, could we still function? Yeah, but we would definitely feel it. So we are super proud of our partnership. Like I said, we've had 5 years of that, and we've definitely seen a lot of growth in engagement and absenteeism rates. So we'll talk a little bit more about some of the in-depth and surface level items as well that has really helped us out. So I appreciate the opportunity to come talk to everybody today.
Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate
Yeah.
just your points about, integrating CIS and really having it be structural. Tim, Chris, I also want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to answer this question as well. So Tim, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Excited to be here and support and talk about communities and schools. I think all three of us can say we're big fans of communities and schools and the work that happens in our districts. Um, my partnership started as a principal in another district where it was just in the infancy stages of communities and schools. And then I left to be a superintendent in Eastern Washington and came back. And our high school principal and I had worked with communities and schools. And so I like to say our relationship started with the power of people and the relationships we had going back. And that's really what brought communities and schools to South Kitsap. We had a need and we saw what was happening in the Peninsula School District and felt like it was really important to bring that to our community. And so again, that relationship, we really believe that loving people is the number one thing we do in our district, and I think that's what communities and schools believes in too. So our foundation really is a partnership. We have very strong, similar core values. I think one of the things that I've seen as we've grown our number of site coordinators, we started with one, and now we have six, and they are really strong advocates for not only students but families and our staff. And I think that's one of the things that I have seen as one of the greatest impacts is our school system, school staff are seeing the communities and school site coordinators are doing things that they never dreamed was able to happen in schools. They don't have the capacity to do it. And so I'm looking forward to talking a little bit more today, similar to what John said, that we'll be able to talk about the impact that these site coordinators and the organization have had in our schools to support not only students and not only families, but has taken the pressure off the staff in our schools. And so as we continue to look for ways that we can continue growing the number of site coordinators and the number of influence in our community, I think it's really important to continue to build on those relationships.
Thank you so much, Tim. Take us away, Chris.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm just thrilled to be here, and we're located in the southeastern corner of Washington. Like John, we are rural and access to additional resources. We have had a need and have been blessed to be partners with communities and schools for 5 years. And really, we had heard about communities and schools before COVID, but after coming out of COVID, communities and schools was that partnership that was part of our academic recovery and acceleration plan with the influx of some resources, knowing that students and families are more in need of support to reconnect with the school community coming off the pandemic. They played a pivotal role in providing support at each of our elementaries, and it has expanded out to our secondary schools. Over the course of our partnership, it has evolved, and the last 3 years has really integrated it into our student support teams, looking at chronic absenteeism, and also being that bridge between our court services. Our court services have seen the reduction of funding across the state, and how can we be that bridge to help support schools and families so that they have good attendance habits. First, our ask about 3 years ago was looking at trying to get community engagement boards up and running in our community, and having CIS members embedded into our schools. They had that natural pipeline to community members that were that second set of eyes that could phrase things in a different way and pull families back in and not feel judged by not being in attendance. So our ask was really find us individuals within our community that could serve on these boards. And then it has evolved into hosting community engagement boards, training. So I really am proud of our partnership and the efforts of CIS. So
thank you so much for that, Chris. We all know, all of us, and hopefully majority of our participants today too, know that chronic absenteeism has long been an issue in Washington State. Pre-pandemic, 15%, post-pandemic, 30%, and then trickling down a little bit to about 26% currently. Chris, can you talk to us a little bit, start us off around why is chronic absenteeism a challenge in the Walla Walla community, and what are the effects that you're seeing?
Well, like I mentioned, we're trying to get upstream, and one of the things that we're seeing right now is good attendance habits starting in the elementary schools. Without good attendance habits, what we see is those turn into unexcused absences, which impact down the road credit attainment, which impacts your likelihood of being an on-time grad or a graduate, and then ultimately post-secondary access to livable wage. So we're trying to get upstream of setting those good attendance habits at the elementary. One of the things that we're struggling with is stringing, 20 days, 30 days of absences, excused absences at the elementary after 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
and then having that habit of going into middle school, the impact that you kind of see is not connected with peers, that also the that sense of them, how they see themselves as learners. There's the gaps in learning, and learning is difficult, but then the belief that they see themselves as learners, it makes it even harder to attend. So when you string multiple years of excessive excused, the willingness to go into a unfamiliar environment where you feel connected and belonging, it just isn't there. So it's harder to put yourself out there. So that's one of the things that we're trying to get ahead of here in Walla Walla.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Chris. John, can you tell us a little bit about what it looks like in Republic, Washington, and what are the effects you're seeing as well in your community?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to piggyback on what Chris was saying. I mean, it starts in that elementary. And that's where we started CIS in the first place, was the whole goal was to get those elementary, attack something early and often, get the, past 10 days, we know what the data is showing, when they miss those time, and it just increases from there. So that short-term effect for us is just basically, you're pulling on other resources for us to get you where you need, for our regular staff to attack those barriers and find out what is the reason that you're missing it. So, we're seeing a lot of reteaching. We're seeing unengaged students. We're seeing some hopelessness. So how do we bring that hope back with our kids? And who's going to partner with us in that, so I think that's a huge one for us. And short term leads to bigger things. Chris hit on a lot of those graduation pathways and seeing how kids view themselves in the community. How do I get out of Republic? What's out there for me? What are the trade schools? What are my options? We can preach it, but if you're not here, we've lost our ground, so it's much tougher. And then, for us, we have a high, and it could be a big system thing that we've really taken a deeper dive into over the past few years here, is why do we have such a high number of special education referrals hitting the system? What is that cause? Is it because, kids miss so many school days? Absence is causing, unengaged kids. There's a domino effect here. So how do we catch them up? How do we, improve that process? And so that's been a big one. And then, are we over referring? What is the right model to use? Response to intervention, or the old discrepancy model? We're seeing those changes come in 2028. So what does that look like, and how do we, prevent our kids or engage them earlier? So we've seen our CIS program expand into the high school setting over the past couple of years, and that's really piggybacking off of all that growth that we've seen at the elementary level. So again, the domino effect, we've got to stop it. We've got to hit those barriers. And so, a lot of what Chris said, I concur with. So we'll just keep rolling. Yeah.
Thank you, John. I love your piece around hope. I think that is, and also too with Chris, right, a sense of belonging. How do we integrate hope into these systems and get kiddos back on track? Tim, I would love to hear, what does this look like in your community in Port Orchard, South Kitsap School District?
So a lot of the same kind of things that John and Chris have talked about. I remember sitting in when I was in school in a middle school classroom, and there was a poster on the wall, and it said "Miss School, Miss Out." And at the time, I remember thinking, well, that's kind of an interesting thought, but that's the reality. When our students miss school, they do miss out. They miss out on the academic side. They miss out on the connection, social part, the belonging piece. Um, so I think just like Chris and John talked about, there are a lot of barriers, and one of our jobs is to try to uncover what those barriers are. And that's where I think another reason that communities and schools has been such a great partner for us, because one of the things I've seen with our site coordinators, they're not afraid to make a phone call. They're not afraid to connect with a parent. They're on the front lines in a lot of cases, and whether it's our teaching or support staff either don't have time or maybe just don't have the courage in some cases to make those phone calls. I worry a lot about parents and the parent impact on our students. Um, I guess success in school, but just being there. That's seems to be one of the things that we see a lot of. We have it's really our program manager now in South Kitsap works as part of the district to try to support parent connection, and so puts on monthly parent engagement opportunities. And so we've seen that to be really successful, whether we're talking about screen use, anxious generation, screenagers, those kind of things, or just trying to give some social emotional support to our parents. Because I think it's difficult to be a student today. It's also really difficult to be a parent today, and trying to educate our parents as much as we can. But really, I think what we've seen an increase in behaviors, and John was talking a little bit about this too. When our students miss school, they don't learn how to do school, and I think that's a problem. And it does start at an early age, and it carries through. And so there's the academic piece. There's a connection to adults in their lives that are really important, and if they're not there, that relationship doesn't exist. And so I think those are some of the things that we rely on our site coordinators and the support and connection they have with community resources to make that happen.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. I am loving just the piggybacking off of, and how, it's kind of looking similar, but also how CIS really comes into your community and tailors the support based off of the community and what's there. You guys kind of touched on this next piece a little bit throughout the conversation. We often say that absenteeism is rarely about a student not wanting to be in school, but that there are other systemic barriers that are out there preventing access. What are some barriers that you see most often, and how do they connect to the larger issues of systems challenges and lack of access? And Tim, if you want to kick us off with that one, that would be great for us.
So, in full transparency, I have great access to communities and schools. My wife is a site coordinator, and so I get to see firsthand, not only from the school perspective as a superintendent, but a lot of dinner table discussion. And I think one of the things that I'm seeing has been what a great impact is things like clothing, shoes, kids feeling like they belong and fit in. One of the things I'm really proud of being connected to communities and schools of Peninsula is that we're not just giving them whatever we happen to have in a closet. We're going out and getting new things, because I think that's important, that kids know what a new pair of shoes looks like and what it feels like. And it's not just here's a pair. As a matter of fact, we were shopping last night for a black pair of shoes that a student needed. And so I feel lucky in a lot of ways, because I get to see what our site coordinators are working with and what that impact is with families. I'm surprised a lot of times at what our site coordinators are able to do in connection to families. We think about kids a lot, but it's really about the families. So whether it's gas cards or washing machines or laundry detergent, mattresses. I mean, there's been a lot of things that our site coordinators are doing to try to just build that foundation for kids to come to school. And I think when a student shows up with a new pair of shoes and a new sweatshirt and looks good and feels good, obviously the problem with that is it takes money and it
Yeah.
takes resources. And I think that's one of the things that I want people out in our state to know is that every district is different. So whether you're in Republic or Walla Walla or South Kitsap, we're all different. And so we want to make sure that we are getting the resources for our district, just like John and Chris want resources for their district based on what those needs are, because we can't compare one to the other. They're all unique. They all have unique needs, even though we find similarities in our discussion. I think we all have a uniqueness about what our families need and what our students need. So that's one of the things I'm just really grateful for is that has opened my mind to what more needs there are in our community that I didn't even know existed, and that we're able to solve some of those caseload by caseload is really the way we're doing that.
Thank you so much for that, Tim. I really love the piece around, you know, helping kids being able to experience and know what it feels like to step into a pair of new shoes, right? Like, not only does that build a sense of belonging, but also confidence to step into a school building. Chris, tell us a little bit about, what barriers are you seeing most often, specifically around the systemic challenges or lack of access in Walla Walla?
Yeah. So our demographics here in Walla Walla have changed significantly over the last 30 years. We are a community that has about 60% free and reduced lunch. And I think a lot of the things that we're seeing about root causes is just the stress of families, of the insecurity of, or a changing schedule of, it may be a split household, it may be grandparents, or the student is in foster care, and just that uncertainty of resourcing, and that adds a layer of where you're worried about what's the afternoon program going to be, or who's going to get me to school, or I think that's where our CIS has been able to walk alongside families and find out what is the need. Is it transportation? Is it after school access to after school programming, and meeting the needs, and trying to stabilize families that are really stressed out right now. And they look to the schools, but the schools aren't funded that way. Our purpose is to educate, but we know we need to address basic needs before we can even think about education. So that partnership has been tremendous to be able to connect to other community resources that our school staff may not know is out there. And I thinking of, with the holidays coming up and our communities and schools up at the high school partnering with our culinary program and community agencies to provide over 70 turkey dinners to families. It's things like that go a long way to help lessen that stress on families. So it's a tremendous partnership. So again, I can't speak highly enough of it.
I love that, Chris. I wanted to highlight something that you said that I think is really profound, and it's actually a conversation that we have had with Senator Murray's office as well, around how school systems are seen and school buildings are seen as these hubs of resources, but then don't have the resources to really be the hub. And that's where community partnerships come in and all of these other things. John, I want to hear what it looks like in Republic. What are some systems challenges that are getting in the way of, or being the root causes of chronic absenteeism across the board?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like Tim and Chris said, when your basic needs are not being met, you're not going to perform in school. It's that simple. You're tired, you're hungry, you don't have clothes. And then how do we get that? We burden our same businesses in town. What CIS has done is, we know we only have one or two businesses in town, and they get asked for fundraisers and basketballs out there, and they run out as well. They're stressed, and it's hard enough for them to even employ workers on a regular basis. And so the beautiful thing with CIS is they're able to go and do that outreach. They're over in Colville, they're over, in Kettle, they're elsewhere, right? So they're getting those resources, they're bringing them in. God, I wish I had time to do that, right? I wish we had the staff that could function in that way. And so that's been a huge one for us. With our students, it's a lot of the same with what's been said. The transportation's an issue. If you've been to Republic, we've got families living in tents in the hills and the trees, and so they have working families. They come out, but that's what they bought, and that's where they're at. So we serve them where they're at and we help them out, right? So if we If they're hungry, we will feed them. We'll find a way. And so that's the beautiful thing with that. A lot of us can't relate. You can't say, I didn't grow up that way, and so you see some other people that might judge or look differently. That's not our role. Our role is to find a way and break through it and deliver that for the kids, and everything we do is for students. And so community schools will operate in all the different systems, but they will adapt to our need, and their model is very sustainable. So the economic hardship has been big for our community. We're now seeing the gold mine wanting to open back up with gold prices the way they are, and everyone's, oh, that's going to bring in 50 families, that's going to bring jobs. And we'll see, right? They've been saying that for the last 10 years about the gold mine here in the Republic area. So I hope it comes to be, and I hope our families are employed. But until then, it's our job to make that happen, and CIS has been an integral part in getting that for us, and working alongside those families, and we reach out, but then they make the connection and help us bridge that relationship, and they continue that. So absolutely love it. And so just serving those basic needs, and that's a big one for all of us.
Thank you so much, John. You're actually teeing up our next question really well, which I will have you kick off for us. Can you tell us a little bit about how your partnership with CIS has made a difference? And if you're comfortable, can you share an example of an impact on the ground in community?
Yeah. So, I talked a little bit earlier about surface level and the depth, right? The surface level is, they're celebrating students for birthdays. You see my background and, helping kids with breakfast and celebrations with our students. They're posting, all the attendance rates, and they're celebrating classrooms that have the highest attendance. They're doing a lot of the fun surface level connections and Tiger rewards, and working with our teachers to celebrate students, and bring them to board meetings, and they do board reports, and it's a great connection for our community. And then you see the depth, right? So then you see we're really examining with our crisis team, sitting down with our IEP team, sitting down with our teachers, and speaking, why is this student missing so many days? What is the academic data showing? How do we have those attendance trackers? How do we work with our PBIS system, positive behavior support system, or some people have Swiss programs where they're tracking attendance and they're tracking the behaviors, and they come right alongside that. So the depth is what's really building the program, helping our teachers, and more importantly, helping our students. And so that relationship piece. So I'll share one example. There's a student, and students get labeled, right? So, which is the unfortunate part. Oh my goodness, this student is, it's tough every single year. You're going to see this student act A, B, and C. So, but when I walk around, what I see in the classroom when the student is struggling is I see a CIS site coordinator sitting down on the floor with them, working through those, because they've had those in-depth discussions already with the teachers, with the parents, with the student, and have built that relationship where they're sitting and working, and you don't even realize, wow, is this the same student, right? So this is actually building that hope part for us, getting the kid to believe, I belong in this classroom. I'm not going to act out. I'm going to really see myself doing better for myself, and that's the big one that we want to really see carry over into the high school setting to get them to graduate. So that student is performing very well. Our wonderful site coordinator, Lisa McKenzie, if you're on, awesome job. You're doing a wonderful job in the classroom and serving that particular student. And that was a walk around too. I was walking with a board member, and who's that person over there? Well, they just fit in seamlessly, right? They just right on the floor, sitting with the student. And when that CIS site coordinator leaves, the student actually is sustaining and continuing, right? So when we do have the check and connect, or the building relationships, and so that has been really nice to see, and we have some go-getters, and so I appreciate that. So that particular student's doing well, but again, we replicate that many times over for many different students. And so, we're just super proud of that and the relationships that it brings, and it's sustainable, right? So, and our teachers keep teaching, and the kids just keep rolling. So it's been exciting for us to see.
I love that, and I love that example. I think it actually goes back to what was said way earlier in our conversation around love being one of the number one things that we do. And, we have a motto of, it's not programs that really make the difference, but that it's relationships. So I love hearing that it's the relationships in action, and we get to see that. And I feel fortunate to be able to see the work on the ground. Tim, I'm going to ask you same question. How's your partnership with CIS made a difference? And if you feel comfortable, if you can share an example of the impact on the ground.
Well, this was, I love this question because it made me really stop and reflect on all the things that CIS has done to impact our district. I want to give a shout out to our Communities and Schools of Peninsula Board who's watching tonight, and specifically the SK6. You talk about relationships. One of the things that I love about our partnership, because we're two districts, I know all the site coordinators in the Peninsula District too, and so it's fun when every other month or so they have their monthly meeting here in the district office, and I get a chance to go in and really connect with those people. And so it's been great. I love being around people. I love connecting with really influential people, and that's who all of our team is. And so I think that partnership, I remember Wendy is our program manager in South Kitsap, and she was our first site coordinator. And she and I were sitting in a meeting a few years ago, and it was with community agencies, and they were saying South Kitsap is not taking advantage of the resources that are available. And we kind of looked at each other and thought we got to do something different about this. And so Wendy really took that one on. One of the great examples of the things that we have done is our community resource gathering, and I give Wendy a ton of credit. And then the rest of our team here, they've just pulled all these community groups together on a monthly basis to really have conversations about how we can support students and families in our community. And it's just been so cool to watch it grow. That's one of the things that I'm really proud of. I think we have a multi-tiered system of support teams focused on attendance, and our site coordinators participate in those meetings at their individual schools, which I think is a really powerful thing. We have belonging teams in our schools, and our site coordinators are part of that. One of our schools has after-school tutoring, which is really cool because it's right next door. There's, I think, 18 community volunteers that come in every Tuesday afternoon to support students in reading. So again, for me as a superintendent, I get a chance to go over and connect with the community. And some of these people are retired teachers, firefighters in the community, just people who care about kids. And so that's been really powerful. And then I think it was John that mentioned, or Chris, the community engagement boards. Our site coordinators are really involved in our community engagement boards to try to support students and families in attendance. So many things that I could talk about, and so many things that our communities and schools team has been influential. But again, like you said, Erica, it is the relationships. That's where it all starts. That's the foundation, and that's where we find our greatest influence.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. I think that example really amplifies the systems work also that is happening, right? It's not just the school building, but the community as a whole, right? When CIS comes in, it's a community effort. Chris, I would love to hear what this looks like, how CIS has made a difference in the Walla Walla Public Schools community. And again, if you're comfortable, share an example of what it looks like on the ground.
Absolutely. I just want to kind of go a little bit deeper with our work around community engagement boards, and really with our court services, some of the changes within the truancy laws, and really court having that negative connotation of what services can court order families that schools may don't have the ability to do. And that could be from counseling to treatment to what have you, but it is out of our domain. But really, our communities and schools and leadership of Katie DePonte of coming in and seeing this can be not a negative aspect of it, and it's a way to connect families to resources, to provide that hope, to have that ability for families and students to be heard, and really they've stepped into our court services had lost funding, their ability to have these engagement boards or host them. It was falling back onto the school district, and Katie and Addison were instrumental of finding people that were not part of the schools, that were part of the community, trained them, hosted at the library, and connected families back. So we had about 85 students that we filed petitions on last year. 47 of the families actually participated in a community engagement board hosted by CIS. and we saw the average attendance for this group of students, the ones that participated in the engagement board, prior to the CEB, they were at 55%. After 30 days after participating in the engagement board, their attendance rate was 74%. We have a pilot program in one of our middle schools of we know the students that have been historically absent, and we know that they're not connected, or the connections are very fragile. We've put in a kind of a support class where they can connect with our CIS member period of the day, and it is a support group. They're focused on belonging, SEL, community connection, and they've been tracking attendance from what it was like without this class the year before, and then what it is like after this class. And we've seen improvements from the first 4 weeks from 70% to 84%, from 68 after and maintaining it. So after 7 weeks, 68% to 78%. We've had kids that have been 24% in attendance up to the 60%. So it's finding those adults and putting those structures in place that they feel that sense of belonging. But the piece that is what I've been able to see because of my connection with Katie and other facets is communities and schools, our agencies in our community know if they need to get into the schools, they go through communities and schools. And then it's a matter of Katie and I kind of working together of like, how can we connect these individuals? So that's been very powerful because I wouldn't have known that these resources are available within our community.
Thank you for that, Chris. Also, those outcomes are incredible to see, you know, the significant increase in attendance in schools and kiddos being more engaged and families being better resourced. I love hearing that. We do have one last panelist question, and then we have one question from the audience that I will ask you after the panelist question. But Chris, if you could start us off, if you could ask our audience to do one thing to support reducing chronic absenteeism or just absenteeism in general and ensuring students are present, what would that be?
I think it comes down to connection and having adults that can connect other families to resources is huge. I think, you know, you look at this, it would be great if the process doesn't start over from year to year. You know, if there were some changes to how truancy or excessive excused is handled, where if it is an expectation that we fund that expectation. If we have community engagement boards and we know that they're effective by an outside agency that maybe isn't tied to a court, not tied to a school, but we're obligated to have them, let's support it by funding it and having partners like communities and schools that can connect the resourcing that may be the barrier. I think is a proven way to do that.
Thank you, Chris. I love that. John, if you could ask our audience to do one thing to support reducing absenteeism and ensuring students are present, what would that be for you?
Invest in the relationships, kind of just going on what Chris said. Invest, you know, schools need help. Why has every school that I've ever worked in or every district not had this as part of their support system? Schools can be very limited. invest in this opportunity, help our kids. Everything is student-centered, student-focused. And so they have helped us tremendously. I equate it to, when you meet somebody and you have a relationship and you're dating someone for the very first time and the right person comes along and you're like, God, where's this person been my whole life? Why was this not in the last school I was in, right? How come I did not have this? So this is a pretty powerful program, and I think we would be at a loss without it. So seeing that expand into the high school and seeing that take shape with Brandy and working with Lisa, I think we're just going to see it expand. So help us, help our kids. School districts are limited. We need help, and this is our students need the help, and this is a big part of that.
John, I love that. Could not agree more. Very student-centered and right, like putting our resources where we really, really need them. Tim, close us out. If you were to ask the audience to do one thing to support reducing absenteeism and ensuring students are present, what would that be for you?
So I'm going to build on the word John used, which is invest. I think that's a really important word. And then I would just add engage with school districts. And then the third part is just believe in the power of the relationship, believe in the power of our youth. These kids are worth it. And but like we've talked about, we can't do it alone. And there's way more need than there is money or resources to make that happen. So I think it can be little things like I said, tutoring a student once a week can make a huge difference in a student showing up the next day. Just a quick story on that. I love being over in the room where there's tutoring happening when students show up, because if their tutor's not there, they're disappointed.
Yeah.
They love those connections. And I think that's good for us as a community of adults too, is to know that these kids are counting on us and they need us. So invest, engage, and believe, and just know the need is high, and we want to be in relationship with our community, and we want to be collectively supporting the success of our students.
Well, Tim, I think you gave us our new tagline. So instead of it being all in for kids, we're going to change it to invest, engage, and believe. If anybody from our national office is on here, no, I didn't say that. But I really want to thank you all for your time today. I have really enjoyed this conversation and letting other people see that. We do have one question from the audience, which if you can all kind of tag in here, it's how do you justify investing in communities and schools to school boards when school districts face budget cuts? And how does this investment positively impact school district staff?
Can I jump in there?
Yep.
One of the things that I love this question because it mentions school boards, and our school board is so supportive of everything South Kitsap, and communities and schools is part of that. We devoted a whole study session at a board meeting to communities and schools and got a chance just to learn. But I would respond to this by asking a different question. And John, you touched on this earlier, but how are we going to justify taking it away?
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, because once you bring it in, and there is a financial implication. It's everything is tight right now, and one of the things that I really want to be with our communities and schools leadership team is that be transparent when we talk about money, because it's going to be a challenge. But I think it would be really difficult right now to pull site coordinators away, because there would leave just a huge gap, and I don't know how we would fill it.
Thank you for that, Tim. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree. I concur 100%. We're a smaller district, we have 320 plus kids, plus an ALE program. So, it's tough, but, community and schools, what they've done is they've gone out and reached out to organizations like Launch Northwest and a tiered system to help support us so we can sustain this long term. I've been open and honest along the way. It's like, look, this is going to be tough. How do we sustain two positions moving forward? They've said, we're going to work with you. We're going to set up a tiered system. We're going to ensure that there's a sustainable model. So they've created this partnership with other districts where Launch Northwest funded us for a little over a year, so that's grant money that the board was happily said, absolutely. We're seeing the results. We're seeing this on the ground. We believe in it, and hey, let's go. And when that wears out, they're working with us on a tiered system. How do we sustain this long term? because it does cost money. Everything costs money. As we see more organizations come on board with CIS, how do we help them help us? Let's get them on board. So, they've been great in helping sustain that model for especially a small district that can't go out and buy anything and everything.
Thank you for that, John. Chris?
Yeah, and I agree with what John and Tim have said. The need doesn't go away. I mean, and being fortunate in being a partner 5 years with communities and schools, we have the stories of the impact and who picks that up. The need is there. The connection with the community is there. So I believe that's trying to find that connection. If you're not a district that has that partnership right now, it's falling on somebody's shoulders, or it's a part of a position that you're looking at with enrollment the way it is. You're having to make choices, and if you cut out the pipeline to basic needs, insecurities, what is preventing a kid from getting to school, it's either not going to get picked up and the problem continues, or it gets put on somebody else's plate that is already stretched really thin. So having that dedicated person that can source out and find agencies, partners, well-intentioned folks that want to do good by kids and bring them into the school so that kids know there's somebody out there for them.
Thank you all so much, John, Chris, Tim. I really appreciate your time. I know that as superintendents, assistant superintendents, you don't have very much of it. And so it was just an honor and a privilege to be able to have this conversation with you all, hear how much you love CIS. I'm not, I'm biased. I love CIS too, and I've had the ability to see it in all of your areas. So thank you so much for your guys' time. We are going to welcome back our State Executive Director, Dr. Gwyneth Nelson, to close us out today, but I really appreciate all of you.
Yes, thank you so much. Being new here, still at CISWA, I've learned so much from you, Tim, Chris, and John, and I'm sure others on the call have also. And so thank you for sharing your wisdom and experience. And to all of you for joining us today. These conversations matter because they remind us that solving chronic absenteeism isn't just about attendance numbers. And I think we heard that this afternoon. It's also about relationships, trust, and removing barriers that stand in the way of learning. We heard today that when students have access to integrated student supports, they are more likely to show up to class, feel connected to their school community, and build the confidence needed to thrive. That's the heart of our work at Communities in Schools, making sure that every student, no matter their background or circumstances, has what they need to succeed. As we close, I'd like to leave you with this: showing up matters. Every day a student is present in school is a step toward opportunity, achievement, and hope for the future. Together, we can ensure that more students have that chance. We encourage you to stay connected with us. Please visit our website, follow our campaign, Being Present, and consider how you can be part of this movement. On behalf of CIS of Washington, thank you again for being with us, for caring deeply about this issue, and for standing with students across our state. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you.